Good morning, everybody. Well, this has been some news that not only I have been waiting for a long time, but thousands of people have been waiting as well. We finally have heard some news, and it is really good news in a way for a lot of us. As you probably remember, the United States has been able to come into Canada. You've been able to drive into Canada now as long as you've been vaccinated and take your test before coming in, and you do that ArriveCan. You can come and visit United States. You don't have to quarantine when you come here if you've been vaccinated. So that's been happening now for, I think, 2 months. And now, finally, coming up beginning of next month. They haven't said when next month. They said early next month. So early next month, in November, we will be able to drive to the United States. That makes things so much easier for a lot of people. A lot of people on the borders haven't been able to visit their husbands, their wives, their children, their grandparents. They haven't been able to, move because they got married and have 2 residences. It's been a mess for a lot of families who have been separated for 19 months now. 19 months that border has been closed. The longest closure in history, I think. I don't even know if we ever closed our borders during the war, but we closed it during the pandemic and shut it down. Amazing to me. Now we could fly the United States, so we can spend all that money and fly. But I mean, if you were going from, for instance, if you're going from Toronto to Detroit, it's a 3-hour drive. 4-hour drive. You're going to spend hundreds of dollars on airfare both ways just to be able... No, you're not going to. So this is really good news, especially good news for myself. If you saw some of my earlier vlogs, I bought the current car I have specifically so I don't have to fly all the time now, and I could just drive to the cruise ports when I'm cruising, and I can visit places along the way. And I can pack as much stuff as I need. I don't have to limit myself to 1 suitcase because the airlines charge you per bag. For instance, when I go on a group cruise, my last group cruise I had 7 suitcases because I make gift bags and things like that for people on board. Well, at $80 a bag for those suitcases after the first one, it ran up to a lot of money. And guess what? Those empty suitcases still had to come back with me. And no, they didn't fit inside each other. They were all one size suitcase. So it became like I'm spending close to $1,000 just in suitcase fare sometimes, where I could just pile them in the back seat of my car in my trunk and drive. And I got an extra wide car. It's extra long. It drives very... In case you know, I bought a second-hand Chrysler 300. Second-hand, it was about 1 year old, 2 years old. Only had like 30,000 kilometers on it, so very little mileage. Beautiful car. Love my car. It rides smooth, and when I took it out to Vancouver area, to British Columbia, when I went out to visit my friend's wedding, it was amazing. Nice drive. 5-day driving. Felt beautiful. Listening to the radio, had the satellite system going, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Getting up, make sure you get to the airport, show the 17 different identifications, get your bags. Oh, by the way, when I go through an airport, there's never been a time where my carry-on bag, my backpack, has never been taken aside and scanned and researched again. Not once in like 5 years now. It never gets through. because I have camera equipment, I have hard drives, I have lighting equipment, I have microphones, I have all this stuff. And it gets flagged every single time. And some people just take it out. Yeah, well, that's my whole bag. My whole bag is that. So I would have to empty the whole bag out. And, you know, when you pack, especially camera equipment and everything, you pack things in specific areas and specific ways so they don't get damaged. So yeah, taking them all out again just defeats the purpose. So yeah, driving with a backpack sitting in my back seat, so much easier for me. Not only that, it opens up even more cruise ports for me that are easier. I can drive to New York, New Jersey, Baltimore. It's a day drive. It's a much faster trip. It makes it easier for me to head down to a river cruise because, you know, I'm not going to fly to a river. I'm not going to fly a 6-hour drive. I'm not going to fly that distance. It never felt smart to me just to fly for that amount of distance. I just drive down and stay there, stop and see the sights, see the countryside, visit the people everywhere. That's when you get to meet people from all walks of life and everything. Even in the United States. The United States is completely different from one state to another state to another state. Canada, completely different from one state to another state to another state. Go down into Newfoundland and then go to Quebec and then go out to the prairies and then go out to British Columbia. They are completely different and they all have their different vibe. And that's the same way in the United States. And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to see. And so the border is opening, which is good. And even better news for people who are vaccinated is that they're going to open the border that you have to have an FDA approved vaccine, which is Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson, or one that's recognized by the World Health Organization, which also includes AstraZeneca. And one of the reasons they're saying that is because, as you know, next month as well, they're opening up border international travel to fully vaccinated people. And a huge, huge population in the EU and the UK have all AstraZeneca. That was their main vaccine they used. And here in Canada, when we began, AstraZeneca was the main vaccine we had for quite a while. Now, the only bad news so far is that we haven't heard what they're going to say about mixing vaccines yet. The FDA and CDC haven't come down on that, but they were given all of our data from both Canada now and the UK on people who had mixed vaccines and their exposures and their protection and how long it lasts and all the data that we've collected over the 19 months of this pandemic and handed it over to the CDC and the FDA. So we're hoping that they start saying mixed vaccines are okay too, especially for people who got AstraZeneca. That would be a big relief for a lot of people. And then basically it would be, if you have a vaccine, doesn't matter if you have different doses, doesn't matter if you have different vaccines, you can go and you can travel and you can visit and you can work, and it makes life so much easier for both Americans and Canadians. So yeah, good news today. I'm in a good mood. I'm flying tomorrow. Hate flying, but I'm flying. Heading to Los Angeles, getting on my Emerald Princess cruise. Gonna have a good cruise. Got a bunch of stuff lined up. And yeah, you know, had the border been open for my Alaska cruise, I probably would have drove to Alaska. And then when I get off that cruise, I would have drove around the West Coast and visited Disneyland and visited Hollywood and places like that I wanted, you know, maybe Vegas. And then I would have ended up for my other cruise. I could have done that, but I wasn't going to fly back. I even looked at taking the train. The train was sold out. Couldn't take the train. Great. I would have had to stay 5 days in Seattle to take the train. And then it just didn't line up. So I'm glad they're finally getting ready to open the Canadian border, US border, and it's going to go both ways. And they even have that clause in that AstraZeneca will be okay. And that was really good news for a lot of families, and especially good news for me. A little bit selfish, but I'm happy. I'm happy that border's finally opening.